Welcome back, dear viewers, and you are still watching The Breakfast Show. And in this segment of our program, we will talk about Egyptian University's Excellence Day celebrations, which took place yesterday with the attendance of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. And to know more about this special occasion, we are joined over the phone by Dr. Nabil Gad. He is an educational expert. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning, Dr. Nabil. So, sir, as part of the Egyptian University's Excellence Day celebrations, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi attended meetings with the members of the Higher Council of Universities at the Suez Canal University. Why is the President keen to attend this celebration?
Well, this is really a very encouraging step by the political leadership with the continuous pushing forward for these young generations who are top of their classes in all faculties of the Egyptian university. And the point behind this is that the President maybe has an intention to let such young, promising men and women set an excellent role model for their mates and their colleagues to be followed for their future generations that are the hope that our country is always waiting for. These students, actually, when I watched the show yesterday, so whether in the morning or the evening time, in a literary parade-like session, actually one feels very proud and extremely happy, inexplicable pleasure for our country, for their universities, and above all for themselves and their parents, who brought them up to be in such a position of high rank.
Yes, Dr. Nabil, President Sisi said it was necessary to come up with scientific ideas to face challenges confronting the state. What kinds of challenges necessitate scientific solutions in Egypt?
Yes, the scientific thinking, I think, is the overwhelming trend nowadays. We don't like to have normal graduates, but we need to have thinkers in all fields. And I'm so happy also that we have a very good encouragement nowadays for not only the building of new universities, which reached, as I heard yesterday, 92 universities, including the governmental universities, the national universities, the private universities, the foreign universities, and so on. The applied technical education is actually the road to prosperity and achieving all goals, not only for Egypt, but for the whole world. And I consider, as I have read recently, that these graduates that we celebrated yesterday to be awarded and crowning their efforts with wreaths of victory, success, and so forth, these people are like the apples. We can count the apples coming from a tree, but we can't count the apples coming from the seeds of these apples when they are planted and have lots of achievements and very promising future, not only for Egypt, but for the humanity at large.
Yes, Dr. Nabil, also the head of state reiterated that the education culture in Egypt must be prepared to accept new development suggestions. How can such targets be realized?
Absolutely sure. I do back up what you have just mentioned, that the education is a major element in the present age. And let me say that what we plant for good is from Allah Almighty, from God Almighty. And the ones who plant for evil will not see God's reward in the future. Actually addressing such idea to the defeatists and those who are, I consider, cultural terrorists, who always look to the negative, look at the negative points of what we are doing, not at all considering the positive points for these ones. We have, or we expect, a very bright future for this new generation of the graduates, and we are fiercely ready to serve Egypt by all means, whether through these young men and women who represent, I think, 66% of the total of the population in Egypt. But once the call and the encouragement go on, I think these graduates, the top graduates, will also exert all their efforts to achieve the goals that we have in front of us. And we are not flying on wings of dreams, but we are flying on wings of hope that everything which is successful, beneficial to our country and to humanity at large, will be achieved so soon by the sincere efforts of all the people who are in charge.
So, sir, also the President Fattah al-Sisi emphasized that primary education is the starting point in which the state will realize its dream of development. Can you elaborate on this?
Yes, of course. The primary education is the start up of the whole educational process throughout the primary, the preparatory, secondary, and the university, and even the postgraduate studies. So if we give very good care, due care to the primary education, especially the teachers who are in charge of implementing the psychological and educational ideas and encouraging these youngsters to be thinkers and creators in the future. I mean, to have creative ideas, of course. A creator is only God Almighty, of course. However, these young children have to be well fed, not only physically, but also culturally, mentally, and to have their own thinking and to be encouraged. We have to consider them as the springboard for the future categories of education in the coming stage after the primary stage, of course.
Also, the President pointed out to the importance of improving skills of teachers as a priority in the coming period. So, what is the importance of this step?
Very good point you have just mentioned, Ms. Shireen.
Yes.
And that we have to give due care to the trainers. And I think there is a program I once mentioned before called TOT, Training of Trainers. So if we emphasize and give all the attention to the teachers in the primary stage, I think they will have very good results through the youngsters they teach. And you know something, I read that some foreign countries, teachers of the elementary or primary stages actually are well chosen and they of higher qualifications than the other stages. So if the teacher is successful to attract his or her learners to the educational process and education accumulation, they will be very good seeds for the future, and they will not be always interested in reading. Let us encourage them, for instance, to search Google, to do some presentation, and have their encouragement from the others.
Yes.
Encourage also have artistic trends. And this is just an example for what I need to say.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Nabil Gad, an educational expert. Thank you, sir, for being with us today. And the viewers, short break, and we'll be back, so stay tuned.
Former Spain international Xavi has coached Barca in 96 games with 61 wins, 16 draws and 19 losses. He claimed his first titles at the helm last season by winning the Spanish Super Cup and leading the club to its 27th league title and first in 4 years. Xavi Hernandez has extended his contract with Barcelona until 2025 with an option for a further year. The 43-year-old manager arrived at Barcelona on a 3-year deal following the departure of Dutchman Ronald Koeman at the end of 2021. Former Spain international Xavi has coached Barca in 96 games with 61 wins, 16 draws and 19 losses. He claimed his first titles at the helm last season by winning the Spanish Super Cup and leading the club to its 27th league title and first in 4 years. Defending champions Team World took 4-0 lead over Team Europe in the opening day of the Lever Cup at the Vancouver as Ben Shelton, Francesco Cerundolo and Felix Auger-Aliassime all won their singles matches. The 3-day tournament viewed as tennis' answer to golf's Ryder Cup, offering fans a rare opportunity to see the sport's top players team up, is without the likes of the retired Roger Federer, the injured Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic this year. But fans got a glimpse of the future at the Rogers Arena as US Open semi-finalist Shelton beat fellow debutant Arthur Fils of France 7-6, 7-4, 6-1 to hand Team World the opening point of the competition for the first time in its 6-year history. Chinese President Xi Jinping opened the 19th Asian Games in a colorful ceremony in Hangzhou, launching a 2-week sporting extravaganza that boasts more athletes than the Olympics itself. After being delayed by a year because of China's now abandoned zero-COVID policy, more than 12,000 competitors from 45 nations and territories will battle it out in 40 sports. In front of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and Thomas Bach, the head of the International Olympic Committee, and other visiting leaders, Xi officially opened the Games at the 80,000 capacity Guangzhou Olympic Stadium, also known as the Big Lotus. Jorge Martin held the lead of the start to win the sprint race at India's debut MotoGP and close the gap on championship leader Francesco Bagnaia. Ducati's Pramac rider Martin started second on the grid and jumped into the lead, while a crash on the first corner saw Marco Bezzecchi slipped back from pole position. World champion Bagnaia came second and Marc Marquez completed the podium at the Buda International Circuit on the outskirts of New Delhi. Bezzecchi's Ducati VR46 got hit from the rear by teammate Luca Marini, who crashed out along with Stefan Bradl and Paul Espargaro.